Great. Okay. All right. So with that taken care of, Emma, take it away.
Thank you so much for the introduction. And yeah, I hope you guys can't hear my dog barking in the background, but I'll continue on with my report. So basically, what I wanted to talk about was sort of the censorship and the new era of McCarthyism 2.0 that's been happening in America and in other countries as of late, as we kind of keep rolling more and more into fascist territory. And so specifically, I wanted to go into the Prairie Land case. So for anybody who might not be too familiar with it, I'm going to do a summation of everything that happened, and then talk a little bit about Queensland and their laws, and a little bit about the uh, list that came out of the socialist no good list from Marco Rubio that's been posted around as well, just to give a little brief. But anyway, we can get started here. So, in this era of Nouveau McCarthyism, we have faced deep antagonism, torture, and assault on our rights to believe and fight for a socialist future by the same set of far-right think tanks, capitalists, bureaucrats, and charlatans that all prosper from silencing of radical thought. And specifically, this happened on July 4th of 2025, where a noise demonstration was planned and held outside of the Prairie Land Detention Center in Alvarado, Texas. And like anyone else that day, these protesters decided that they would shoot off fireworks in solidarity, while also repeating the same phrase, Esperanza, which means hope in English. Um, the staff at the detention center had told many of the protesters to leave. There was an unknown amount of in the group, the large group that was held, but about three-quarters to almost all had left, except for around nine. And these nine protesters had stayed along with one other person who ended up leaving the scene very, very shortly after. Um, but with these nine, staff had called the police and basically falsely reported a break-in at the detention center, according to the DFW Prairie Land Defendants, which is their main hub of basically showing what the case is and everything else. Um, so the police arrived at the detention center and, with the remaining protesters, aggressively threatened to shoot. Were very, just had so much vitriol, were saying just terrible things, making very big threats to kill, to maim, and so on. And when police noticed that another protester was running away from the scene, it was when Lieutenant Officer Thomas Gross got into a shooting position towards the fleeing protester. This is when one of the main defendants, his name is Benjamin Son. He prefers to go by Champagne. Champagne Son was a military veteran, a Marine specifically, and also a firearms instructor previously. Now, Son had a registered firearm and was also, legally able to teach otherwise, and knew to prevent someone from killing another, especially with a gun, especially police. Ended up firing eight defensive shots into the ground in front of him. He was 60 feet away from the police themselves. And in that, the police had alleged that Son had fired at the officer Thomas Gross, and shot him in the shoulder. However, on other evidence that we have actually found, all eight defensive shots were in the ground, as seen by photo evidence. And from body cam footage, it actually appears that Thomas Gross had actually shot in the direction of Son, and his bullet had actually ricocheted off of Son's gun and ended up firing into himself, into his shoulder, as he was turning his back to go back again to shoot at the other fleeing protester. Son was inevitably charged with attempted murder out of this. as they were going to get him with anything that they possibly could, even though there is photo evidence of the gun having a bullet dent in it, essentially. Son's gun having a bullet dent, and otherwise there being other evidence against in support of the defendants. There were many conspiratorial charges being held against these protesters. And so with this, he was charged with attempted murder and terrorism charges, and was also even put on a wanted list as he was a fugitive for about 3 days, I believe, while he was hidden by the other protesters, thankfully. But just unfortunately not for long. He has been sentenced to 100 years in prison.
Mhm.
And not only that, most of these protesters were also held in solitary confinement for weeks at a time, have still been, some are still in solitary confinement to this day, and were also held before even trial as well. So, um, when trial happened, there was a lot of note of there being issues with the jury. For one, there was an issue with there was a loud disturbance coming from the juror room that was noted by many of the prosecutors and also the defendants, lawyers and attorneys. Everybody knew that there was some intimidation tactics going on with the jury themselves. They had banned black juror members from attending. And this is nothing new. We've seen this happen plenty of times. And this is not the only ludicrous charges that have been set on these protesters for a common protest activity where nobody was killed, and even the officer who was shot was an outpatient surgery. It only took a couple hours for him to be released from the hospital. Definitely not an attempted murder, as I would think. Um, the other protester that was sentenced to very insane charges was Daniel Sanchez Estrada, known as Dez. He was not even present at the protest, but his wife was. And because of that, she was considered a leader of this terrorist organization, as they were calling it, very heavy quotation marks there, and was also considered to be transporting domestic terrorist propaganda in the form of zines, which he was transporting from his house to another office space. And the police had caught him at the intersection, had accused him of hiding bombs in the box, had basically made all of these insane uh, accusations, and he was sentenced to 30 years. His wife was sentenced to 70. Um, Now, all of the political documents, everything that they were doing is all legal in the Constitution, everything, all political thing, all the documents, every zine that was produced, all under the First Amendment, all very legal. But the interesting thing that comes from all of this is how much the state of Texas and even the administration that we are under has been saying how anti-fascist material is now terrorist material. I mean, they're making it very clear that we're in a fascist country. I mean, if this is against America or anti-American, well, I think we can see where that's going. The other big thing that they were making into a way to support these charges and these claims were they were saying that many of the protesters here were wearing black bloc clothing. But many of them actually were not. Most of them were in work uniforms after their shifts. They had come to do this and be here in solidarity after working a 9 to 5. And even Benjamin Son, Champagne, had been wearing full reflective clothing to make sure that he was seen by anyone and everyone, especially police too. And so the other things that they put against these protesters was that they were using Signal, which they considered a domestic terrorist activity. Same with the graffiti of saying "Ice Pigs" or "Ice Out" was considered anti-American. And basically, the DOJ claims that these protesters make up an Antifa cell, and that they are dangerous and are, basically should be locked up and have the key thrown away. They are trying to get a new trial. The lawyers that are defending them are very desperately trying to get a new trial because of how much illegal activity has happened in all of this, in all the trials and everything that they're using against these people, and the amount of things that they are being subjected to in this system is insane. All of the defendants have been subjected to exceedingly invasive strip searches, specifically targeting the trans and cis women who have been sentenced. They were sentenced to strips. They had strip searches that in front of surveillance cameras, where the guards could all watch. And many of the defendants who were vegan or vegetarian have also been denied vegetarian or vegan options, and also subject to starvation, basically, because if they did eat any of these meat options, they would get very sick. One of them, Marcella, who is Dez's wife, actually lost 7 pounds in 5 days after being transported back and forth from Johnson County Jail to Wichita Falls. And the same denial of basic necessities such as toiletries, decent showering, and commissary has also been reported by all the defendants as the general conditions of their sentence. Um, on their website, detailing their case and supporters, prairielanddefense.com, they've asked that anyone wanting to support them engage in letter writing to the defendants, distribution of their zines to the general public, and posting on social media. This is what helps them the most. There are some GoFundMes and fundraisers, but that's primarily to take care of the children that have been left behind, the animals that have been left behind, and really all the other living situations that have been forcibly removed from these people's lives, to help take care of those things that are necessary. Um, in all other cases of this, it has been very torturous for these people. They have gone through so much. All of these people are intensely strong, but they are also dealing with some of the worst things humanly possible that you could go through in, especially in the prison system, especially in all of this. The amount of solitary confinement that these people have gotten is just awful. It's awful. Um, the defendants here are named Savannah Batten, Champagne Son, Inez Soto, Elizabeth Soto, Autumn Hill, Des Estrada, Maricela Rueda, Dario Sanchez, Jeanette Goering, Rowan Gibson, Lucy Falks, Megan Morris, Rebecca Morgan, and Zachary Evans. And I named them because their names have power and that they should be known as always. They do not only just carry a legacy for being in jail, but we are also trying to get them out of jail too. So as long as we keep them in mind, I think we can succeed and continue to make this have a new trial or something along those lines, at least just trying to get them out. And so, on the other side of the world, in Australia, we have something a little similar going on, at least in the prison sentence aspect of basically saying any type of rhetoric in support of Palestine. From the river to the sea is being outlawed as a slogan in Queensland. You can get up to 2 years in jail for posting this on Facebook, for saying it in any way that apparently could cause menace, harassment, or offense. Very vague terms in describing this, generally trying to just silence any type of opposition to what's going on, especially to all of these Zionist ties that are being made by these really big corporate and capitalist owners that are essentially handling all of this. Um, this was a new law that was passed under a sweeping bill called the Fighting Anti-Semitism and Keeping Guns Out of the Hands of Terrorists and Criminals Amendment Bill 2026. Very long name. I don't want to read it again. This was passed after the terror attack that was on the 14th of December when 15 people were killed and 40 were injured during a beachside Hanukkah celebration at Bondi Beach. Um,
And Emma, I'll just do a quick time check. We're nearing the time for discussion, so is a couple minutes good for concluding? I just want to check in.
yeah, perfect.
Okay,
Thank you
awesome.
very much.
You got it.
Um, and so basically, this bill was passed from oh, sorry. So this was a proposal that was very diluted. I mean, it was very vague in the first place, and it also, um, for just being posted on Facebook, any type of anti-Zionist thought, any type of verbal putting out there that you are against this, it is very, very strongly like against. And so they would consider that anything against Zionism would be anti-Semitic. It would be offensive in that way. And so they are not sure if the ban will be challenged or not. Everybody would like to. That's on the side of, Palestine and everything else. There are in Queensland, Justice for Palestine spokesperson and former Greens candidate Rema Najee said that a legal challenge would be certainly on the table, but we'll see how far politicians can take this, as this was already in their hands before, and we've seen what has happened there. Um, Generally, there also seems to be some confusion on whether or not this phrase could be interpreted in other ways, or because of how vague this ban is in the first place, how much could be essentially used against any person that tends to use any type of rhetoric such as that. Um, and in the same, and back on in America, from that list from Marco Rubio, we have a exceedingly long list of many, many union organizations, socialist thinkers, and other people who really are not a threat, of course, but are now being labeled a threat or a domestic terrorist, not including George Floyd, who is currently dead, um, Amy Goodman from Democracy Now, and the Amazon Labor Union, Antifa, just as a general organization, I guess, and also Hassan Piker, who has also been coming up as a very bannable figure for a lot of people. Um, this is just a monumental issue. With not only how vague this all is, we also understand that a lot of this um, problems, these things that are showing up, this wave of McCarthyism, this wave of let's get all the communists out, is because capitalists are feeling threatened. They are feeling so threatened that they are believing that the more we can make this criminal, that we can make this bannable, that they can succeed in pushing us down. But the other problem that this does actually create is that this makes us into almost wild, wild west territory. What is now illegal? It seems that everything is illegal, and the only legal things that you really can do is if you have enough money to commit criminal activity under the table, essentially. So for capitalists and anybody that has enough money, for billionaires, all crime is a-okay because it's not being said. But anything that is just in support of pe an oppressed people, of the absolute insane situation of detaining immigrants, people who are just trying to make a life here, is now all seen as terrorist activity, seen as criminal activity. So, my question really, what is criminal? What is truly legal in this country, as everything seems to be growing more illegal and more costly? Are we at the peak of where we might be starting to get to revolution, or at least to some form of maybe even civil war from all of this? So it's just waiting to see what happens, especially with how this trial turns out. I really do hope for all of the Prairie Land defendants to get out as quickly and as soon as possible. Um, and as a part of this, and part of helping with that, I would love to send some zines, maybe distribute stuff. They also have letter writing campaigns. They would love for anybody to send them letters in jail, which I think would be a great thing to take on for any of the members if they feel interested. I personally was going to. And that's really all I have to say on that part. And so I'd love for it to be opened up to discussion.
All right. Thank you so much, Emma, for